All right, welcome to another week of We Hate Fantasy Football. This week, neither Josh nor myself hating it too much.
Oh, I like it.
We are getting a little bit of a late start tonight.
Yeah.
We just watched the Cubs clinch the World Series for the first time since 1908. Congratulations to the Cubs.
Yeah, it was. They had to fight. They battled back against the Dodgers, which I wasn't pleased about, but then they had to battle back against the Indians from a 3-1 deficit, and it's pretty impressive. So congrats to the Chicago Cubs.
Good job, Cubbies. So, Tom, there's still hope for you. If the Cubs can win, maybe your drought can finally be over.
You can do it.
Next year. Or maybe the year after. Or maybe in 100 years from now.
It might take 100 years.
All right, let's get right into it.
All right.
So this is our Week 8 review.
Yep.
And for Crazy MFJR, I am the captain. And let's get into it. So Week 8, what did we see that was good?
Well, I won again. That was good.
You know what was better?
What's that?
Me winning.
Yeah, that was good too. Congrats.
Thanks, Tom.
That's number 2 on the season, right?
Number 2?
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
How many losses do you have?
I have 2.
Okay, so we're pretty even.
It's close to the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know. This week was pretty boring. In besides my winning and your winning,
Sure.
There wasn't a whole lot going on. Most of the games were over by the time halftime came around of the morning games. It was just kind of blah.
Yeah. I didn't like watching Zach Miller catch passes on Monday. That was a little irritating. Jordan wasn't that far behind, and all I kept seeing was Miller, keep getting receptions. But fortunately, he didn't find the end zone, and so ultimately it didn't make that much of a difference. But I didn't enjoy that.
Well, you know what I did enjoy on
What's
Halloween?
that?
So I went out trick-or-treating with the kids, and
Sure.
my kids and Kevin's kids are related. So I got to hang out with Kevin on Halloween. And
Fun.
as we were walking around from house to house, Kevin's got his phone out the whole time. Oh, there's another catch. Oh, Alshon Jeffrey. Oh, no. It's going to happen. And he had such a lead, but he was sweating it the whole time. And they finally had a touchdown at the end for, who did he have going? Whoever he had going on Monday night. And he was like, game over. He was all excited about it. It was a good time. So that made for a good Halloween.
Yeah, that's enjoyable. Fun.
Okay, so let's talk to trade deadline. Trade deadline is on its way, and we've got a lot of trades happening already.
Yeah, there was a lot of action this week.
This week there was 4 trades that happened this week.
Yep.
I feel like one person was behind most of them.
I think that's you.
Oh yeah. Finally got rid of some of those guys.
Yeah, you've been shopping hard.
For like a month. All right, let's go through them real quick. We'll go through each one. We start with the first one of the week, though did not involve me. It was between Jeff and Jordan.
Yep.
It was Devontae Freeman for Dez Bryant.
I think that's a pretty fair trade. I think it solves a couple of needs that both teams had. I worry a little bit about Dez's injury, and then I also worry a little bit about the Cowboys' quarterback situation. If they stay with Dak, how much are they going to throw to Dez? If they go back to Romo, does that throw the team into some turbulent times, or would the rest of the locker room want Romo back, or are they on board with Dak? So that's a little interesting. Freeman, I think, has been pretty good. I think he's probably exceeded even what some of the expectations were for him. And Tevin Coleman's a little banged up at the moment too, so Freeman could continue to do really, really well. It's pretty even, and I think they both filled in pieces that they needed to do. So
Yeah,
interesting, fair.
I think that in the end, I think Jeff's going to be unhappy with Dez.
Maybe,
but I don't know. Maybe not. Before we move, I don't like this shirt.
yeah, something looks a little off.
I'm just going to take this off. This is really uncomfortable.
Okay.
I'm not enjoying this at all.
Okay.
I think that this is probably
Yeah.
a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
man, that feels so much better.
That's more like it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. So we'll move on. Second trade of the week was between me and Kevin. I traded away Devontae Booker, the guy that you probably should have traded for. And I got back TJ Yeldon.
Woohoo!
But I, more importantly, got an 8th round pick for next year.
Yeah. 8th rounders, I had a bunch this year, and I picked up some flyers, and none of them really panned out. But, I mean, it's extra pieces that you can use to help bolster your team next year. Yeldon still has the potential to maybe be a piece, maybe. I mean, it was a flyer. Booker, I drafted him. I dropped him twice, So, Kevin probably wins that. I think he's going to be a good player. I'm not 100% sold that he's going to last the whole season. He's already a little bit banged up, but he's going for it, so that's okay.
Yeah,
We'll see.
trying.
We'll see how it goes.
I really try to give him breezy. You didn't want him. You wouldn't pay for him.
It's all right because somebody else did.
Yeah, speaking of that, so we had a next trade was between me and Jeff, Cam Newton for Drew Brees.
Also pretty fair. Breeze has been, I think, the number one overall quarterback so far through this year, but he's much, much better at home. Not as great away,
Right.
so you kind of have to play the matchups a little bit.
But he had that good game away when I sat him.
Well,
Yeah.
that's because you sat him.
Well-
He knew that somehow. He got the idea of Darren sitting me, so
Absolutely.
I'm going to play out of my mind. Newton, I think, could come on the second half of the season here. He played really well in the last game that they won, and I think that was after their bye week, so I think he might have gotten on track a little bit, and we'll see what happens. He's always dangerous. He can always use his legs. May not score as many touchdowns just
Right.
because he's concerned about getting blasted in the end zone. But once again, a pretty fair trade. The one thing that I will mention that for you is Newton's a much better keeper value.
That's why I brought it up to Jeff. That was my thinking. I said Breeze has been a little bit better this year, so Jeff's going for it this year, and then I can keep Cam for a 10th round
potentially.
next year.
Yeah.
Last trade of the week was Ty Montgomery for Delaney Walker. I'll just go ahead and say that I needed a running back to fill that second RB spot. I didn't have one. Jordan had been trying to get a tight end all week, so it was just a fill the bye week need. So nothing
Makes
special
sense.
there.
And neither one of them are superstars. If they feel a need, then that's interesting. I had talks with Jordan too about maybe trading away one of my tight ends, and he apparently likes Delaney Walker better than either of the guys that I had. So
Well, Delaney's good. Okay. Current standings. We have some standings that are a little more, not bunchy, but they're more coupled.
Well, coupled, I think, is the exact right term because there are 5 different rankings and 2 people in each one. So Kevin and I are both 6 and 2, leading the way. Jordan and Gus are 5 and 3. Jeff and Lisa 4 and 4. Ryan and Keitel are 3 and 5, and then you and Tom are 2 and 6. So there's a few up at the front and a few at the back. It's still pretty bunched up. We don't have anybody that's a complete disaster, and we don't have anybody that's completely running away. There still are enough games that anybody could get back into it if something really crazy happens. But
There's somebody really close to a complete disaster.
yeah.
It's not me.
No, but there's starting to be a little bit more definition of the rankings. I mean, we're spreading out a little bit, but once again, it's nobody has 0 wins, and
As I see it right now, I know there's still 5 weeks left, so there's still a lot to go on. But as I see it right now, there's really 5 teams fighting for 4 playoff spots. That's the way I'm looking at it.
I think
It can change a lot in the next 5 weeks, but
I think
sure.
it's probably even 6. Because Lisa's come on.
Oh, I was
strong.
just counting her out already.
Well, I'm not going to count Lisa out quite yet. I mean, she's won the last 2 games.
Well, after I beat her this week, she's gonna be
that might be the end of it.
spiral down. It's gonna be a mess. I already know.
That's true.
That's me predicting the future
Sure.
because I've done so well with that this year.
You've been amazing.
All right, that brings us to our rankings section of the week. We've got Jordan to give us our rankings. What do you got, Jordan?
Guys, I am live in the 104.9 studios for this week's Power Rankings, so let's get right to it. So Josh is now on a 4-game win streak and clearly in the driver's seat in his division. Now, despite an injury to C.J. Anderson, Marvin Jones coming back down to earth after his red-hot start, and Allen Robinson struggling, Josh still has the depth to keep his team rolling. This week he faces Kalos Rhyhorns and looks to take his streak to 5. Now, number 2, Kevin finally got back above 100 points, and this week he goes against Ryan. He takes his record to 6 and 2. DeMarco Murray, T.Y. Hilton, and Larry Fitzgerald are all questionable going into Week 9 as he matches up against Tom. But Dodger Dogs, he hopes that the high point of the season has not already happened. Number 3 is Power and Glory. Now, even if I had played someone for the injured Ty Montgomery, I still would have lost by 7 points. Now, replacing Devonta Freeman for Dez Bryant solves my one running back problem, but now 2 of my 3 keepers are off my team. With 1 week to go until the trade deadline, AP is also available for next year. This week, Power and Glory rematches up against Gus, who he defeated back in Week 1. All right, now Gus, he put up 163 points in his win against Keitel in Week 8. Rodgers has looked very good in the last few weeks, and now despite missing the first 4 games of the season, Rob Gronkowski is now the number 2 tight end in the NFL. But this week, with the Patriots on a bye, LeGarrette Blount and Gronk are out, but also Tom Brady's out. Now, Gus is going to have to look to Matt Forte and the Packers in this matchup. Now, number 5. Despite being on a 2-game losing streak, Keitel still has the talent to make a run at any time. Mark Ingram, DeAndre Hopkins, and Kyle Rudolph are all struggling, but Matt Ryan, Jonathan Stewart, and Amari Cooper are keeping this team alive. Derek Carr put up 43 points last week, and he's now the number 4 QB in the NFL. Spencer Ware has not passed the concussion protocol yet, and Terrell Pryor sat out of practice this week. This week, Lisa goes up against Darren, who looks like he might have righted his ship. Now, number 7, the dudes abide. Devontae Freeman has really been the lone bright spot for his offense last week, but now Jeff has actually shaken up his team. He's now traded Cam Newton and Devontae Freeman for Drew Brees and Dez Bryant. But each of Jeff's players this week, they have a really good matchup. He goes up against Keitel, and he looks to get back to winning. All right, number 8. Darren finally moves out of ninth place. Now, in the last 2 weeks, Darren said he gave up. He's actually had some of his best 2 weeks. Each week, he scored over 125 points. He's only 2-6, but it could be possible that he makes a run. Jordan Howard came back this week with a huge performance against Minnesota, and Jameson Crowder and Jeremy Hill are both top 15 in their position. All right, number 9, with Le'Veon Bell on a bye and David Johnson only held to about 10 points, Ryan had a difficult time overcoming Kevin in Week 8. Blake Bortles continues to be the best garbage time QB. Unfortunately, he was on the bench for Ryan, but Alshon Jeffrey got his first touchdown of the season. This week, he goes up against a loaded Ezekiel-like Sunday morning. Finally, even with Tom got a win in Week 8, he got back to his losing ways against Darren. Now, Theo Riddick was the high scorer for Tom. Now, in the last 20 regular season games, Tom is 3-17. This week, he goes up against Dodger Dogs, and although it seems unlikely, maybe Tom will catch Kevin on a bad week, but he's probably going to go to 4-17. Guys, we'll see you next week.
Jordan getting all fancy on us in an actual radio studio and what's he trying to show us up?
Yeah, he's highfalutin and he's got a professional setup, and we're here in my dining room.
But we have a better background.
Yeah, definitely.
So what'd you see at the top?
So top 4 spots kind of make a lot of sense.
Yep.
Top 4 rankings, myself and Kevin, Jordan and Gus, 1, 2, 3, 4. I was interested that Keitel was at 5 at 3-5, and he was ahead of the 2, 4, and 4 teams. Both Jeff and Lisa are 4-4, and they were behind Keitel. That was a little interesting. Gus did move up 2 spots to number 4 with his continued winning.
Yeah, he had a big game.
Yeah.
That'll help.
Makes sense. So, all kind of lines up. What'd you see?
Well, Tom's where he belongs. Tom did say that he should be 11, just at the 10 spot. I agree. Ryan's finally where he belongs, down in 9, and I'm still not quite where I belong yet, but I'm getting closer. Now I'm here in the 8th spot. I told you I'm gunning for 6 by the end of the year.
Sure.
I'll get there.
Okay.
We still got 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Lisa, after I beat you this week, you're going to be right down on the, I don't know how to say it. You're going to be below. See, it doesn't sound right. Lisa, you're going to be down, and I'm going to be whatever. We'll just keep moving. So that was the rankings, and that'll do it for another week of We Hate Fantasy Football. For Crazy MFJR, I am the captain, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.